Hello, SYNGAP land. My name is Michael Gralia. This is episode 27 of SYNGAP 10, your 10-minute weekly briefing on everything you need to know about SYNGAP 1 and what we're doing for it. Today is Friday, September 17th, 2021. Hope I didn't already say that. I'm a little tired today, so I might repeat myself. Let's jump in. I told you at the end of last week there were two big announcements that were going to come out this week. One of them came out. The other one's still percolating through the processes that big announcements have to percolate through. But let's talk about Rarebase because it's huge news and I'm really excited about it. And if you follow us on social media, you saw this press release. If you don't follow us on social media at CureSYNGAP1 everywhere, you should be following us on social media. But let's talk about this press release. Rarebase announced that they were working with 15 rare disease groups and they're going to do amazing stuff for drug discovery. And then there were really nice quotes from all the CEOs of all the rare disease groups, including me, in that press release. And everyone who read that press release like, this is so exciting and no one's quite sure what we're doing. So let me break it down for you. Rarebase, cool guys, biotech and ladies, amazing team working on drug discovery. And I'm just gonna step back and paint a picture. One of our friends in another rare disease group was working on one of these screens, and they were working with one of the best academic institutions in America. And the idea is roughly you take healthy cells, and you stick different amounts of different drugs in them, and then you measure using some pretty expensive science the amount of the genes changed after being exposed to those drugs. And you use those as a way to say, hey, this drug made this gene go up. Maybe that would do with that in sick kids too. Let's look closer at that drug. I realized that was a little abstract. But for this one group to do this on their one gene was going to cost them $1 million. Over $1 million. A lot of money. And they were stuck on that number. And then Rarebase came along and they were like, you know what? Because that kind of screen starts with healthy cells, right? Because you got to remember, when you're doing a drug screening, you're putting a drug into something and you're figuring out what changed. And that something is a healthy cell, a mutant cell, kind of like the broken cells that our kids have, or a worm, or a fish, or a mouse brain, or whatever. And healthy cells are the cheapest and best studied, right? So if we can take healthy cells and just stick the drugs in them and then measure how the gene changed, cool. But the inside of Rarebase for this particular kind of screen that they're calling function is, we could take one healthy cell, put one drug in that healthy cell, and then we could measure like 25 genes. Why not 30 genes? Let's look at how all those genes changed. And if we pick our genes correctly in the cell and we grow the cells correctly, and we make sure they're the right age, and then a bunch of other stuff I don't understand, although I sat through endless meetings about this with a lot of scientists. I had chaperones, don't worry. And we could do this for a lot of genes at once. And then their innovation was that they came to respectable rare disease groups who know what they're doing, and they said, hey, would you do this for like 100 grand, 150 grand, whatever the number is? And their number for the anchors, the 5 anchors, was $150,000. And we were like, yeah, if the science makes sense. So we teamed up with the other anchors, and we brought in our scientific advisors, and we sat through these very long meetings that made my head hurt. And at the end of the day, the scientists said, yeah, this could really move fast. So that's what function is. Function is us working together with other rare disease groups, spending our money really intelligently to find out as fast as possible if there's a small molecule out there that can make more SYNGAP in the brain. That is crazy exciting. And we're working with the guys at Rarebase are innovative. They're good people. We're thrilled to be working with them. And we're going to make this happen. So thank you. That brings me to the Cannonball, right? The Cannonball is in 18 days. And the Cannonball is 3 dads driving across America from New York to LA. 3 SYNGAP dads. And they're going to live stream the whole thing. And normally when people do Cannonballs, they're trying to set a speed record and then racing across America. And they might rack up a few speeding tickets. That's not what we're going to do. We want to keep our dads safe. What they're doing is they're saying, no, we're going to take turns. We're going to drive around the clock. Around the clock, we're going to go across America. Brett, Peter, and Kevin. 3 really cool and funny guys. You're going to want to watch all of this. And the best part about that is they're highlighting what an endurance race it is to raise a SYNGAPian. So they're making a really important point. And the other thing is their goal is $100,000. And guess what? We're counting on that $100,000 to fund Rarebase. So we're going to put up a fundraiser for Rarebase pretty soon. We're going to need to raise 150 grand to make this happen. We're counting on 100 grand from Brett's wonderful event, and we'll raise the other 50, and if we'll get there. So exciting news about Cannonball. If you work for a company that you think would sponsor that, they would want to have their name on it, let us know. Sponsors are a great way to raise money. And that's going to go back to the Rarebase drug screen. And the Rarebase drug screen is going to help us figure out if there's a drug we need to focus on for our kids. And then we'll fundraise for that. And we'll do that too, because we got to help our kids, because our kids need help. And the reason I belabored all that is because this is going to help all Syngapians. So funny story, there's a family who reached out to Rarebase. They were like, hey, our kids got Syngap, and can we help? Like, do you just the usual things a family says when they learn someone's working on Syngap. And Rarebase was like, Mike, do you know these guys? I'm like, yeah, I don't know these guys. So they sent them to us. And it's great. We found another family, diagnosed 2 years ago. Found another one. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Our families. So remember, like I say there's 808 as of the last quarter. That number's going to go up soon, by the way, because we update the count every quarter. But last time we counted, 808 worldwide. That's just the ones we know about. There's a bigger number than that who just we aren't in touch with, like this one family yesterday who we found through the Rarebase press release. And then there's a much bigger number than that of all the families who haven't gotten diagnosed yet, because it's a pain in the butt to get a genetic diagnosis for reasons that are endless. So really cool that we found another family through Rarebase. We're really excited to work with Rarebase. I know, I trust the people in charge there. I'm thrilled about it. If you're a rare disease group, you're like, wait, I want to play. Reach out to me, reach out to Rarebase, talk to them. It's going to be fun. I talked about the cannibal. Oh, I also did another thing this week. It's kind of fun. I did a short 20-minute interview with Billy. So if 10 minutes of Syngap 10 is not enough for you, go watch the 20-minute discussion with Billy. Super cool. Punchline on Billy. Really good guy from Seattle. Had an accident, broke his neck. Pretty bummed out about that. Couldn't move. And despite all the physical therapy and all the work that Billy went through, he still couldn't tie his shoes at the end of it. He's like, this is dumb. Why hasn't someone made better shoes? So Billy made those shoes with the zipper around the side that, by the way, most of our kids are already wearing. So we talked to Billy, and he's given us a 10% discount code, syngap.fund/Billy. And he'll also make a donation to SRF. And he and I did like a 20-minute conversation. He does this online vlog thing. It was pretty cool. I'll put the link in the show notes. Check it out. Speaking of another great conversation we had this week, I talked to a company called QState Biosciences. They are in Boston, biotech, working on a lot of rare diseases. And somebody called me up, like, hey, Mike, do you know you're on the pipeline for QState? I was like, what? So I go to the website, look on their pipeline. It says Syngap 1 Discovery, which is the beginning of the process. And I was like, So I called them up. I was like, hey, what are you guys doing with Syngap 1? You want to talk? Got on the phone. Nice guys, CSO, CEO, the usual. And the punchline there was, yeah, we're working on Syngap. We'll let you know. And I was like, great. Just so you know, we got Citizen. We got the database ready. Just so you know, we're working on a biomarker grant. By the way, I'm going to be hitting you up for a biomarker fundraiser pretty soon here. Like, we're getting ready. And they were thrilled to hear it. And that's great. And hopefully that will renew their commitment to focus on Syngap 1. And I think the point here that I want to make, and the reason I'm telling you about QState is a point. I've had two parent conversations today alone where I reiterated this, so I think it's worth reminding everybody. Syngap 1 is highly desirable to work on. There's a lot of kids. It's complicated. There's good science. There's huge burden on the families. There's a lot of things we can measure. We just have to figure out what. And so, unlike some rare diseases who are like, oh my God, no one's working on my gene. I got to start a biotech. I got to go beg any researcher to focus on this gene. This is not a problem we have. Thank you, God. This is not a problem we have. We have a problem that when a lab or a company that exists or doesn't exist yet gets to the 24th mile of the 26-mile marathon, 26.9, whatever it is, they got to go through the hard part, which is figuring out what they're going to measure, designing a clinical trial, having meetings with the FDA, designing a trial, and getting it done. And honestly, this I could just spend 10 whole minutes on. So our philosophy as SRF is we're not saying this company or that researcher is going to win. We don't care who wins this race. We just want someone to win the race. And so we're at mile 24 of the marathon, making sure everything's perfect. The ground is smooth, there's Gatorade, and the way is clear, right? This is what we're doing. We're making sure that the data is ready. This is why I'm obsessed with Citizen. We're making sure that we've already thought about clinical trials. We've already thought about trial design. We've already thought about FDA engagement. So that the next QState or the next, I can't even remember which companies I'm supposed to know about and not supposed to know about. The next company that gets there, they're going to get there easily and help our kids faster. And that's why we do the work we do, my friends. That's why we're always raising money. Syngap.fund/gala, 35 days. If you're in the New York area, you should be there. You should be there. So that's it. That's my 10 minutes. I'm going to say one last shout out. San Filippo Foundation, Cure San Filippo. Good people, terrible disease. Glenn called me up. He's like, hey man, I'm going to copy your podcast. Is that cool? I was like, are you kidding? I'm honored. Glenn is a force. And so Glenn's copying the podcast. And I think that's super cool. And if you're another rare disease group out there, hey, copy the podcast. This is a great way to connect with people. I have one family diagnosed 2 weeks ago. They called me up. They're like, what's going on? We want to know everything. I'm like, you want to know everything? Start at episode 1, listen to the whole series. Guess what? They're listening to the whole series. Can you imagine? Consecutive 270 minutes of this? But hey, they're up to speed. Happy Friday. Sorry I went over. Please, if you have comments, questions, thoughts, concerns, email me, mike@syncapresearchfund.org. I love hearing from you guys. All right, bye.